I'm Mark Scotch. In case nobody knew that, I want to thank you all for being here at Oso Brewing. We want to thank Mark and Katina and Dan. They're back there somewhere, probably serving beers right now. Oh, there they are, waving. Thank you guys for having us here. I'm going to give you a real quick overview of what's going to happen today. Each speaker is going to talk around 6 to 8 minutes, give or take, and then we're going to do a little question afterward, question answer, and then after the event's over, after the last speaker, they're going to be around, and anybody wants to talk to them, kind of one-on-one, or don't want to ask a question in front of a group, or if you think of something later, they'll be around and just mingling around. So feel free to talk to them. At any point in time, feel free to get up and get a beverage. That's my whole story is about being in a brewery, so feel free to get up and do that. Food trucks outside. If you get hungry, you want to eat something, there's a barbecue outside. I just had one. I had to go in the back and hide so I could eat it because I was too busy to do everything else. So, I don't know if we're going to do a Facebook Live on this. My sister Gigi is doing that right now. So we are having this taped professionally by Adam. Hi, Adam. So we are going to make sure we get that done properly. So there might be some things we do to make that happen. So that's why we might be doing some weird things. We don't think we will, but in case we do. I guess that's about it. So if you got your cell phones on, you can turn them off, leave it on vibrate, and take your call outside or something. That'd be great. So I'm going to introduce the MC for this event. Lynn and I, my wife Lynn, sitting right here. We first met Chad about a year ago or so, a little over a year ago, at Jill Dillon's event over in Wisconsin Rapids. I know Jill's here somewhere. She has something over in Wisconsin Rapids, Central Wisconsin Gift of Life. And we met Chad there, and I thought he'd be perfect for this. He brought the weather, can't complain. So he's a meteorologist up in WSAW and up in Wausau. So I'm going to let him tell his story about how he's involved with the kidney community. And with that, Chad.
When Mark first told me about this event that he was putting together, to say that I am honored to do this is an understatement. I first became aware of what organ donation truly was back when I was a kid. If anybody was alive in the 80s, there was a movie called Star Trek IV, The Voyage from Home. And at one point, the lady is saying, "Doctor, fix my kidney." And that's because Bones McCoy had given her a pill to fix her kidney, and she didn't have to go on what was called dialysis. And I had no idea what that was. My mom looked into my brother and myself's eyes and said, "Someday your father will need a kidney." And we heard that not very often, but every couple of years we'd hear, "Your father someday is going to need a kidney." Well, that day was in 2000. It was May 1st, 2000, that I found out my father's kidneys were no longer functioning enough for him to survive. How I found out about it was about 8 months later. My parents lived in Washington. I flew out to Seattle. And my dad was a teacher, and he would disappear for about 3 or 4 hours every couple of days, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. So finally one time I stole my mom's car and went and tailed him. And here he's walking into a big kidney facility, dialysis center, and again, it's not making much sense to me until I see why my father had suddenly went from short sleeve shirts to long sleeve around us kids because of the shunt. And he was going for dialysis. So that's when it really hit home to me. 4 years later, I'm covering a flood in Anago, Wisconsin in 2004. I get home. I was happy to be home. I'd been up there all morning long. My mom calls me, and she's crying on the phone, and she says 3 words: "It's your father." And I'm going to start crying. I'll be the first one to cry today. I have no problem with that. But as soon as she said those words, jaw hits the floor, and I just realized that this is probably the worst day of my life. Different story. Kidney was available. It was on its way to him. Yeah, and ever since that time, I've had now 3 green wristbands for Donate Life. My dogs took care of one of them for me, and my now 13-year-old took the other one from me. But that's when that really set in and made it hit home. And so when I got to learn about Mark, I've known Jill for several years. this just all makes sense. The raising of awareness of what it is to be an organ donor. Everybody here today is probably touched somehow by organ donation, by either themselves needing one or by a family member that's needed one. And when Mark had this event come up, Mark and Lynn put this together, couldn't jump faster than I could to say, yes, I will do it, absolutely. And so that's how I got involved with it. And my father passed away a few years ago, was not from his kidney transplant, it was a different issue. He made it 15 years with that kidney, and that's a good time. And I remember last time I talked to my father about his kidney, I said, is it better today with the fact that now you can do everything that you were doing before, or would you go back? He had several surgeries throughout his years with different types of kidney cancer and the kidneys that weren't working. So he had several surgeries. And he said, I would take today over any of those days that I was eating ice chips and I couldn't have fluids. And so my mother and myself were at Jill's event last year. I don't like seeing my mom cry. She's been in Minneapolis for the last 24 hours, so I did not bring her down here today. But she's aware of what we're doing today. And can't thank Mark and Lynn enough for you guys to give me this opportunity. So with that, before I introduce our first speaker, I will give you an update. The Badgers are still ahead 27-7. I know it's a big game.